So in our code, I went in and I told you about how to fill out the doc block, but I didn't tell you what a doc block was. What did I? You're probably wondering, well, what the heck is this? Well, here, if you go to phpdoc.org, this is a documenter tool, but it also has the standard in here too. So we're going to go here and click on the documentation. And what you want from here are all the tags. Okay, the actual docs that are here are not the best, which is typical. You know how documentation is. But you can go in and you can say, okay, I wonder what this copyright tag is. I wonder what this method tag. Here's the parm tag. All right, what do these do and what's the purpose of them? So what these are for is to document your code. That's it. That's what they're for. All right, so for example, here's a class that I have out of Fulcrum, which is my core plugin that I use. And here you can see I have the file level doc block, and I've got package, since, author, link, license. I have all that information filled out. But then if we go down, you can see I have each of the properties identified. And I can scroll down and let's see if I can find one here. Okay, so here I have build args. And what I'm doing is I'm building up all of the arguments for registering a custom post type. All right, notice that I have a parameter in here. See that? All right, so with that, what I have is I'm using parm. Then I tell you the data type, I tell you the variable, and then I give you a quick definition or description of what this is. And I tell you what the return is. And I tell you the revision level. Why is this important? Think about that. Why is that important? Now, I want you to imagine that you want to use some of this code. All right, so you're going to do an add-on to Fulcrum, and you want to use this code. Well, using this documentation, you're able to see, okay, what are the parameters? So I can go through and I can find parm right there. You know what to look for. That tag is a clue for you. And when it's standardized, anybody can go into any code and be able to quickly go and say, okay, I know what a return is. I know what a parm is. I know what a sense is. And I know how to find this information. I know what this is trying to tell me. I know that this is the data type and so on. There's a standard to it. Imagine if every developer out there wrote documentation the way they want. Now try to read that documentation. First of all, you got to try to figure out, okay, well, what are they trying to tell me here? Right? Think about that. All the people in the world, having a standard is a good thing. Well, it does something else for us too. You know, we just talked about that there's readability. You know what to expect when you come to functions, methods, classes, whatever. You know what to expect. You know how to read them because there's a standard. You know how to read somebody else's. Somebody else knows how to read yours. You come back 6 months from now, and if you follow the standard, then it's going to tell you what you need to know. It's going to tell you how to use it and what behavior to expect out of it. So readability. That's the human side of things. The other side is for code. Yeah, you can go through and you can read when you open up a file. You can go in and read all of the comments too, right? So if you're trying to parse through and try to figure out a piece of this file, you're looking for a pattern or something, you can go and say, okay, I know that sense is some rev level. Well, imagine you're writing a script and you want to change all of the rev levels, right? You just want to go through the whole file and you have a script that will do it. Well, you can do it by looking for this pattern. That's one way code can do that. You want to look if something in there has some to-dos to remind you got stuff to do. Well, you can go through and you can gather all those up and then display them over here or kick them out into a report to say, okay, I got to do all of these yet. Those are just a few examples. So not only is it readable for humans, it's also readable for code itself. right? So there's a reason why we want to follow this standard. So what we're going to do is while you're working with me here, and you're letting me teach you about code, I'll be showing you how to document things. And when it comes time to talk about one of these tags, we'll stop and we'll talk about it. I'll probably likely have a lab just on talking about documentation itself. So we can just go through these. But in the meantime, you can try to read this site. I'm just going to warn you. I read it and I go, huh? Yeah, it's not the most clear thing. And that's typical in documentation, right? That's why I created docs. Okay, but we can go over here to make WordPress core. And we can look, they've got PHP documentation standards. And right here, it says you can link right to PHP Documenter. Oh, hey, cool. Okay, there are some customizations though. They are just drawing inspiration off of PHP docs. That's what they're telling you there. They're saying what they want documented is this. So if you're writing code for core, they want docs for the functions, classes, class methods, class members, requires and includes, hooks, inline comments, file headers. That's like the ones we just did for our plugin, right? And constants. This is what they want you to document with a DocBlock if you're writing and you're committing and helping out with PHP core. They give you some tips. You can go through and look at these. Here they're letting you know functions. You need to tell it what it's doing. Okay. Filters, what's the filter for, and so on. All right. They give you the sense to let you know how they want that to go, and so on. They give you ideas here on how they like things laid out. Here's sense. That you'll see what's pretty typical out there is that there's a 3-digit, and it goes number dot number dot number. Okay. And so on. So you can go through here and you can just take a look at this and see what specifications there are from WordPress and then take inspiration off of this for documenting your code.